Okay, so we're going to go ahead and continue now actually learning about the names of the notes in music class. Now that we know about line notes and space notes, let's find out about the names of the notes. Okay, so we learned about 5 lines and 5 spaces. Now in music class, someone somewhere in history said that each line and each space has a letter that's assigned to it. So we're going to call the notes over here line notes because it has to do lines. And we're going to call the notes over here space notes because it has to do with spaces, right? So someone somewhere decided that line number 1, right? So we're going to start here at the bottom, just like this one right here. Line number 1 is an E. Line number 2 is a G. Right here, just this one is this one. Line number 3 is a B, just like this one right here. Line number 4 is a D, just like this one here. And line number 5 is an F, just like this one on top here. Okay? And now remember, our musical alphabet tells us that we only go up to the letter G and then we start all over again. So we're not going to see any lines or spaces that are named R or M or W, right? So in the space notes, someone said that our first space number 1 is an F. Space number 2 is an A. Space number 3 is the letter C. Space number 4 is the letter E. Now, if I were to put a note here, for example, this quarter note, it lands on line number 1, right? And we're saying that line number 1 is an E. So guess what? This note is an E. Right, let's do another one. Now I'm going to try, let me put this note here. And I'm going to put the stem going down. Boys and girls, this is important. When we get to the note B, our stem goes on this side. When we did the note E, the stem went on this side, okay? So they're normally on this side, but when we start going up, we put the stem on this side starting on the note B. So just as I mentioned earlier, yes, because this head of the note lands on line B, which is line number 3. This is the note B. Okay, now we know how to read these names of the notes, all right? Let's do another one. What is the name of this note? Well, let me see. It lands on the 5th line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it is on the same line that is an F, so the name of this note is an F. All right. Now, this is literally what professional musicians do. When they see a note, they have to quickly, within seconds, know what the name of each note is. So what I do is I came up with a silly sentence to remember E, G, B, D, and F. So the sentence is, every good boy does fine. Okay, that's pretty easy to remember, right? But I don't think you're going to remember every good boy does fine as much as if I were to make this into a super silly sentence. And by that I mean I'm going to change this fine, like fine being good, into the word fart. Yes, you read that correct. That is a fart, like what comes out of all of us, every single human being, okay? If you feel like too silly saying fart, the correct word for fart is flatulence, right? That's a fancy word of saying fart. Flatulence. That's if you want to sound fancy saying the word fart. So every good boy does fart, but I'm going to erase flatulence. It sounds a little too fancy for me. Fart is so much more silly. Ta-da! This is what you're going to remember. You're not going to remember every good boy does fine, but you will remember every good boy does fart. Now, some of my students started getting a little fancy when they were in the music class. Instead of saying every good boy does fart, they're like, Miss Chavez, this is a little too silly for me. So then they changed it to every good boy does Fortnite. Yeah, I bet you some of you are definitely going to remember this one, right? Every good boy does Fortnite. Now, some other students got even more fancy. They did every good boy dabs Friday. Yeah, we all know how to dab. So there's so many silly sentences that you can do using E, G, B, D, and F. The point is, memorize it, don't forget it. We're absolutely going to be talking a lot about this silly sentence right here. Now, those are for the line notes. When you have space notes, it's pretty easy. F-A-C-E, what does that spell? Face. So, every good boy dabs Friday and face right here. So let's practice with some of the names of the notes.